getting your action figures from Atlantis. Here's your look at the new McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Justice League Endless Winter Aquaman. Half human, half Atlantean, Arthur Curry is Aquaman, the king of Atlantis and defender of Earth's vast oceans. As a founding member of the Justice League, he also protects the surface world from forces of evil. Aquaman's Atlantean physiology allows him to breathe underwater, swim at incredible speeds, and super strength to withstand the depths of the ocean. His royal lineage sets him apart from other Atlanteans, but also gives him the unique ability to telepathically communicate with marine life. Before we take to looking at the King of the Seas, let me first thank the folks over at McFarlane Toys that did provide the sample of the Justice League Endless Winter Aquaman that we could have a look at in this video. Following up to that, let's bring in the ruler once again, just to see how tall Aquaman stands. And if looking at this correctly, the figure's about 7¼ inches in height, or about 18 centimeters tall. And then to compare Arthur Curry with some of the other DC Multiverse figures we've looked at as of late, we can bring in the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. Just loving the look of that Batman. Seriously though, as I mentioned in the review of that Batman figure, McFarlane really needs to use that head sculpt again for giving us a classic looking Batman. I would buy it in an instant. Also, we just recently had a look at the skinned Joker. This was from the Batman Death of the Family. To see that, as you can see, between comparing the three figures, Aquaman is quite considerably more bulkier in the torso. It might even make for a better comparison. We just move over the skinned Joker here, blocking Batman only just briefly. We can also bring in the DC Rebirth Superman. Ooh, he almost fell there for a second. Superman, though still bigger, I think is betterly proportioned when you compare him next to Aquaman. Aquaman's a little bit shorter, but still quite muscular. A little bit more muscular than both Batman and obviously the Joker that we just recently had a look at. Accessory-wise, Aquaman comes included with a trading card, a display stand, and a trident. Thank you for watching. Of course, we're going to get more into that. Starting first, the figure comes included with a trading card. Now, the trading card, once again, is using the figure photography. They didn't have figures of sharks available, so what they did do is actually digitally add some sharks to the image, and then also added a few little bubbles. I gotta say, though, still using the figures as the source material rather than the actual comic source material, I gotta say at least they jazz things up nicely by adding all these after effects. Down below is Aquaman. This is pulled from the pages of Justice League Endless Winter, and flipped to the back, his real name is Arthur Curry, with a more digestible read-up down below. It wasn't as long as I think the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh had quite the long read-up. Aquaman's is a little easier to digest. Again, you can either pause this for yourself, read it for yourself, or if you prefer to have somebody read it for you, that's in fact what I did at the very beginning of this video. Fancy that. Gonna put that to the side. Of course, the figure comes included also with a display stand. Display stand is still the black circular stand with one single peg off to the far side, and then sizzled down below is the DC logo. Well, nothing on the back, but of course this comes quite in handy if you did want to display your figure in a more dynamic pose. You know, speaking of dynamic poses, the fact that Aquaman is one that swims underwater, I think it would have been fun to have included a flight stand with this figure. The ones I do have currently in my collection, if I don't end up using them for other figures, I might just end up using it for Aquaman, because I think it would certainly be fun to display him in a, not a flight pose, but certainly mimicking him swimming around in the ocean depths. Gonna put that to the side. Figure also comes included with a trident. Now, I would feel like Aquaman would be gypped accessories if he didn't come included with his trident. And trident nicely done, to the credit of McFarlane Toys. I do like the gold that they've used. I can't tell whether they've actually painted this or rather they've actually cast it in gold plastic. The way that it's got the caked buildup in the middle here leads me to believe that they've actually painted it. But it does look nice. It is still pretty thick though, but luckily it does fit well into Arthur Curry's hands. And he does also have two gripping hands. So you don't have to worry about dedicating all the accessory holding to one side. You can really decide for yourself which hand you'd prefer to use. Very little in the way of prying the hands from the palm are necessary. In this case, you can actually just take the trident and twist it, running it all the way up until you get the desired look that you want. If I don't certainly have him in a swimming pose, I might just decide to display him just with a trident like this in his hand. It really makes him look BA. You probably know where I'm going with that. Let's go ahead then and take the trident out of his hand, sliding it back out, and just putting it to the side. Getting a closer look now at Aquaman. A really nice looking Aquaman, I have to say. Now, this is based, again, on Justice League Endless Winter. To the credit, at least, of Aquaman, he's using his traditionally classic looking suit. Laughed and scoffed at, I'm sure, at one point, because Aquaman had more of a silly looking suit. I think it's now something that fans embrace. I just love the more scaled effect that they do for the top orange torso and then the lower green tights. Essentially, that's what he's wearing here. Of course, he's still got the trademark Aquaman belt complete with his logo in the middle, so everybody knows exactly whose belt this belongs to. Going, though, back to his face sculpt. Now, he does have the side eye. He is looking off to the side. I don't find it's jarring too much to this particular figure. And you notice as well, he does have quite the long beard as well as long hair. Certainly, if there was a candidate for the gold label release down the road, I certainly think that McFarlane Toys could re-release this figure, repackage him down the road with a shorter hairstyle and give us a classic look of Aquaman, because they essentially wouldn't have to change anything from this point to this point and just literally give us a shorter haired head sculpt. Probably even keeping to the same head sculpt we have right now and just taking a Gillette and shaving away the beard. That's a nice looking head sculpt, though. It is a bit on the pale side, admittingly, but I gotta say I do like the expression that they gave to his face. He generally looks quite ticked off. Probably for all the years that Aquaman has been taking slack and jokes from others. I would be certainly ticked off myself. The hair is sculpted well enough, too, that it's not all bunched together. There's a few strands that sort of are leaving the rest of the island, and they're off on their own. They're all done in, by the way, softer plastic. This would certainly come in handy when it comes to the articulation of the figure, as it doesn't limit at all what you can do with the figure. I really like the fact that they went with softer material. Usually hair like this tends to be a denser plastic. The kind of plastic that they've actually used for Aquaman is closer to what you would expect from a cape. I think they should start using that, certainly moving forward with other long-haired characters. Of course, yes, you do have the more classic look of Aquaman. Why, again, I certainly feel like this figure could easily work well as a short-haired variant down the road. All the nice texturing done to the body here, the scales all painted well. I feel like this is actually all molded in orange plastic. It does certainly look good. Of course, they have used orange plastic for the hinges, so it does blend well enough in for the rest of the body. I really like the look of this, though. Of course, it has a little bit of gold there on the top. Paint, I'm guessing what little there is applied, is actually handled quite well. The gold also on the belt, other than just a little area right here, is generally quite pretty clean on this figure. Of course, he does have the pointed gloves. Matching to that is also the little fins that he has sticking out from the backs of his legs. It's all classic-looking Aquaman. Looking at the articulation on the figure, starting first, of course, with his head sculpt. The head rotates all the way around. Mentioned already, because he does have softer plastic used for the locks of his hair, it means you can actually move his hair quite freely, well, his head quite freely. Down, up, back, forth, and of course rotating all the way around. As for the figure's arms, the arms quite comfortably come out in 90 degrees. Of course, has also the socketed joints. I do like that the attention to detail, they actually sculpted the little cup sockets that they put on the inside of the torso. They could have easily just left it off smooth. You can see that they have here, but I think it helps more to aid the idea that you can actually bring this in. But I do like the fact that they did at least scale this portion of it, so it looks like it goes with the rest of the body. It doesn't look jarring as it just has some smooth plastic here. The arms, of course, can rotate all the way around. He does have a swivel on the bicep. Figure does have also a double hinge on the elbow, and he does have rotations in the hands, hinging back and forth. Aquaman's torso articulation is the fact he does have an upper torso ball joint, and further moving down, he does also have a lower torso abdomen ball joint as well. The legs split out, a full Van Damme splits for Aquaman. You can also take, of course, those legs, bring them forward, bring them back. There is a mild swivel on the top, more so just the way the figure's been assembled in the factory. Figure has, though, a double hinge on the knees, and he does have articulation not only in his feet this way, back and forth. He does also have ankle pivot, and of course the figure does also have toe articulation as well. I like this Aquaman. It's not the 90s Aquaman where he felt the need to have the hook. I like the fact that even in the comics, they reverted back to his more classic routes. This particular suit, stated I'm sure already at nausea, could easily be re-released down the road as a gold label Aquaman. Of course, just trimming up his hairstyle, going to magic cuts wherever Aquaman. I don't even know if there would be a barber down below in the watery depths. Do they just cut their own hair? I'm asking questions that really don't need answers. But yeah, take a Gillette, shave off that beard of his, and he could easily be released as a classic Aquaman. I think there's definitely mileage to be made here from this particular mold, outside the realm of just this one figure that we're getting from Justice League Endless Winter. Taking my own recommendation here in final looks as Aquaman spins around on the rotisserie, I have utilized a flight stand that came included with a DC Multiverse figure. I think it was the one that came included with Superman. Dusted it off, though very little dust was settled already on it, and have decided to display Aquaman for the time being in a swimming pose, looking as if he's going to be throwing his trident. I do wish, though, the figure had included one of these, though. While I do appreciate the fact that McFarlane Toys would have included a regular display stand, it's one of the few companies that are still including stands with their figures. I think a character like Aquaman, it's even sold on the back of the packaging and on the trading card that he's swimming. Mind you, he's swimming with the sharks, and we don't have sharks available right now, but still, I think a flight stand would have come quite in handy when it comes to displaying Arthur Curry. I do really like the look of this particular Aquaman. I still would have been sold on an Aquaman figure anyways, but the fact that it actually uses his classic costume not only is pleasing to my eye, but I think certainly does open up the door for opportunity for them to reuse this figure down the road, just shaving the beard and shaving the hair. Well, you wouldn't really shave the hair, you'd trim the hair. Do they have a barber down below in Atlantis? I wonder what he does. Does he just cut? I guess he just cuts hair. Like, what would his name be? I'm trying to come up with some clever name for a barber down at Atlantis, and I know I'm already spending way too much time talking about a barber in Atlantis. Perhaps let me know down below in the comments section, if there was a barber in Atlantis, what would you call him? That's a very strange looking question to be asking you, the viewing audience. In the meantime, though, I certainly would like to thank the folks over at McFarlane Toys that did provide the sample of Aquaman, the Justice League Endless Winter Aquaman with classic looking costume. Very, very nice. If you guys are certainly new to this channel, you're enjoying the content that you're seeing, make sure, first of all, that you're hitting the subscribe button down below, that you're also turning on the bell notification, so along the ways, as everything gets posted to this channel, you're going to be getting those friendly reminders. Also, a friendly reminder as well that upcoming to this channel, if you're keeping your peepers peeled here, that we are going to be looking at even more McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figures, thanks to the folks over at McFarlane Toys. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.